Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Kim, and in today's video we are going to learn about the nominative plural, which is also known as the T plural. This video is split into 5 parts. First, we're going to start with a short introduction into what the nominative plural is actually about. Then in the second chapter we are going to learn how to form the T plural. Here we are going to take a closer look at 14 different words. Then in chapter 3 we are getting to know words that do always appear in the nominative plural. In chapter 4, we are going through some example sentences in order to see how the nominative plural is used in a sentence. And at the very end of this video, we will as always repeat what we've learned today by solving some exercises together. So let's start with our first chapter, the introduction. The T plural expresses that there is more than one person, thing, or place. It refers either to all the items or to all the items that have been mentioned earlier in a conversation. Let's take a look at one example. Kirja in Finnish means book. The nominative plural of it is kirjat, which means the books, either in the sense of all the books or all the books that have been mentioned earlier in a conversation. The nominative plural marker is T, which gets added to the stem of a word. For example, omenat, which means the apples, or pilvet, which means the clouds. The nominative plural gets also affected by the consonant gradation. Lehti, which means newspaper or leaf, changes in the nominative plural to lehdet. So here we see a consonant gradation of type A from the strong T to the weak D, which is why we say lehdet, which means the newspapers or the leaves. But it can also go the other way around. For example, keitin, which means cooker, changes in the nominative plural to keittimet, meaning the cookers. The weak T changes to the strong double T, so here we have the consonant gradation of type B. Alright, next thing that is also important is that verbs that refer to a subject in T plural do have to stand in the third person plural. For example, kissat nukkuvat means the cats are sleeping. Kissat means the cats, and since we want to say the cats are sleeping, we have to put the verb nukkua, which means to sleep, into the third person plural, which is nukkuvat. So that is why we say kissat nukkuvat. The cats are sleeping. Also important to know is that pronouns, adjectives, or numbers in front of a T plural substantive do also have to stand in T plural. For example, nuo kissat means those cats, or hyvät ystävät, meaning good friends, or kahdet sakset means 2 pairs of scissors. One thing more to add is that some pronouns do get irregular in their nominative plural forms. For example, tämä becomes nämä, tuo becomes nuo, and se becomes ne. Alright, that was it with our first chapter. Now we move on to chapter 2, where we are talking about the 14 rules. So let's start with rule number 1. Words ending in the letters A, O, Ö, U, or Y. Let's take a look at one example. The word kissa means cat. So in order to form the nominative plural, we have to follow 2 steps. In the first step, we have to find the stem, which is kissa. Then in the second step, we just have to add T to the stem, which means we have kissa plus T is kissat, which means the cats. So kissat is the nominative plural of kissa. As already mentioned before, the nominative plural can be affected by the consonant gradation. Here's one example. Pöytä means table. Here we have a consonant gradation of type A, where the strong T changes to the weak D. Now we want to form the nominative plural. So in the first step we have to find the stem, which is pöydä. Notice here the consonant gradation. Then in the second step we add T to the stem, which means we have pöydä plus T is pöydät, which means the tables. Next one, let's take an example that is ending in the vowel O. Lisko means lizard. In the first step we have to find the stem, which is also lisko. And then in the second step we have to add T to the stem, which means we have lisko plus T is liskot, meaning lizards. And our last example for this rule, ending in the vowel U, is koivu. Koivu means birch tree. Again, first step is to find the stem, which is koivu. Then in the second step, we have to add t to the stem, and we have koivu plus t is koivut, means the birch trees. That's it with rule number 1. We move on to rule number 2. Words ending in e. For example, tietokone means computer. Now in order to form the nominative plural, we have to find the stem. Notice that if we want to find the stem for this word type, we have to put an extra e to it. So we have tietokone plus e is tietokone with a double e. This is our stem. Then in the second step, we have to add t to the stem, which means we have tietokone plus t is tietokoneet, which means the computers. Also here, let's take a look at one example that is affected by the consonant gradation. For example, lääke means medicine. Here we have the consonant gradation of type B, so it's the reversed one. The weak K changes to a strong double K. So, in order to form the nominative plural, we have to find the stem again, which means we have lääke plus e is lääke. Notice here the consonant gradation and the double e at the end. Then in step number 2, we have to add t to the stem. So that means we have lääke with a double e plus t is lääket, meaning the medicines. Nominative plural. We move on to rule number 3. New words ending in I. By the way, what are new words? New words are usually loan words. How do we recognize them? Well, if they are similar to words in other languages, then it's usually a new word. So let's take a look at one example. Posti, meaning post. Also here in the first step, we have to find a stem, which is the same, posti. And then in the second step, we have to add t to the stem, which means we have posti plus t is postit. This is the nominative plural. Let's see how it works with the consonant gradation. Pankki means bank. Here we have a consonant gradation of type A. The strong double K changes to the weak 1K. Here, in order to form the nominative plural, we have again to find a stem, which is pankki with 1K. Notice here the consonant gradation. Then in step number 2, we have to add T to the stem, which means we have pankki plus T is pankit, meaning the banks. This is nominative plural. We carry on. Rule number 4. Old words ending in I. For example, pilvi means cloud. In the first step, again, we have to find a stem. To find a stem for this kind of word type, we have to replace the final I with the letter E. So that means pilvi becomes pilva. Pilva is our stem. Then we add T to the stem, which means we have pilva plus T is pilvat. Pilvat, meaning the clouds. This is the nominative plural. Alright, we move on to rule number 5, old words ending in C. Here's one example. Kuukausi, meaning month. In order to find a stem, we have to replace the ending C with the letters D and E. So that means kuukausi changes to kuukauda. Then in the second step, we have to add T to the stem, which means we have kuukauda plus T is kuukaudet, meaning the months, nominative plural. Rule number 6. Words ending in either as or s. Here's one example. Taivas. Taivas, meaning sky. So the first step is again as always finding the stem. In order to find the stem, we have to replace the ending as with a double A. So that means taivas changes to taivaa with a double A. Then in the second step, we have to add T to the stem. That means we have taivaa with a double A plus T is taivaat, meaning the skies. Although nowadays in English, it's also okay to say sky if you mean the plural version of it. Alright, we move on to rule number 7, words ending in os or ös. Here's one example, laitos, meaning institution. In the first step, we want to find the stem. That means here we have to replace the ending os with oxe. So that means laitos changes to laitokse. Then in the second step, we have to add T to the stem. So that means we have Laitoxe plus T is laitokset. Laitokset, meaning the institutions. Rule number 8. Here we are talking about derived words from adjectives or nouns ending in us or us. If you don't know what derived words are, I made a full video about this topic. You can watch it after this video. Now let's take a look at one example. Korkeus, meaning height. First we want to find a stem. That means we have to replace the ending us with uda. So that means korkeus changes to korkeuda. This is our stem. Now in the second step we add t to the stem, which means we have korkeuda plus t is korkeudet, meaning heights. Alright, we move on to rule number 9, derived words from verbs ending in us or us. Here's one example, palautos, meaning refund. Now, in order to form the nominative plural, we have to find a stem, which means here we replace the ending us with uxe. So palautos changes to palautuxe. This is our stem. Then in the second step we have to add t to the stem, which means we have palautuxe plus t is palautukset, meaning refunds. This is the nominative plural. Now we move on to rule number 10, words ending in us with w or us with a double y. Here's one example. Itsevarmuus, meaning self-assurance or self-confidence. In order to form the nominative plural, we have to find the stem, which means we have to replace the ending us with uda. So itsevarmuus changes to itsevarmuuda with a w in between. Then in the second step, we have to add t to the stem, which means we have itsevarmuuda plus t is itsevarmuudet, nominative plural. Now we move on to rule number 11a, adjectives and most old nouns ending in is. Here is one example. Valmis means ready. Now in order to form the nominative plural out of it, we first have to find a stem, which means we have to replace the ending is with a double I, so valmis changes to valmi, which is our stem. In step 2, we add t to the stem, which means valmi plus t becomes valmiit, which is the nominative plural. Pay attention here that when we want to find the stem, we have to replace the ending is with a double I. Alright, let's move on to the second example. Most old nouns ending in is. Here's one example, kauris. Kauris, which means Capricorn. In the first step, we have to find a stem, which means again, we replace the ending is with a double I. So kauris changes to kauri, which is our stem. Then in the second step, we have to add t to the stem, which means kauri plus t becomes kauriit, meaning the Capricorns. Also here, in order to find the stem, we replace the ending is with a double I. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes it works differently. For example, when we look at the rule 11b, which is about some old nouns and colloquial words ending in is. For example, varis, which means crow. So in order to find the nominative plural, we first have to find the stem, which means we have to replace is with ixe. See the difference here? Is doesn't get changed anymore with a double I, instead it gets replaced with ixe. So varis changes to varixe. This is our stem. Then in the second step we have to add t to the stem, which means we take varixe plus t and we get varixet. Varixet meaning the crows. This is the nominative plural. Now let's take an example where we have one of the colloquial words ending in is, for example, fiilis, meaning feeling. In the first step we have to find the stem again. Also here we have to replace is with ixe, so that means fiilis changes to fiilixe. This is our stem, and in the second step we have to add t to it, so that means we have fiilixe plus t is fiilixet, meaning the feelings. This is the nominative plural. So what we've learned with rule number 11 is that when we want to find the stem of a word that is ending in "is", we either have to replace the "is" with a double I or with "ixe", depending on what kind of a word we have to do with. Alright, now let's move on to rule number 12, words ending in "nen". This one is an easy one. Let's take, for example, lautanen, meaning plate. In the first step, we have to find a stem, which means we have to replace nen with se. So, lautanen changes to lautase. Then in the second step, we have to add t to the stem, which means lautase plus t changes to lautaset, meaning the plates. Rule number 13, words ending in. For example, tulostin, meaning printer. When we want to find a stem here, we have to replace the ending in with ima. So tulostin becomes tulostima. This is our stem. In step number 2, we add t to it. So that means tulostime plus t becomes tulostimet, meaning the printers. And our last rule, number 14a plus 14b. Here we talk about words ending in ut or ut. For example, olut, meaning beer. When we want to find the stem of it, we just have to replace t with e. So olut becomes olue. In step number 2, we add t to the stem, which means olue plus t becomes oluet, meaning the beers. Nominative plural. And in rule number 14b, we have words ending in ut or ut again, but now we're talking about the nut or nut participles. For example, sanonot. Its basic verb is sanoa, which means to say. Now in the first step, we have to replace the ending ut with a double e, so that means sanonot changes to sanone. Then in the second step, we add t to it and we get sanone plus t is sanonet. Now, if you wonder when do we even need the word sanonet, for example, when we want to form the perfect tense and we want to say, for example, we have said, then it would be olemme sanoneet. We have said. All right, let's take another example. Ratkaisut. Ratkaisut. Yes, it's not a nut or nut ending, it's a sut or sut ending, but it still belongs to the nut or nut participles. So, what do we have to do here? We replace the ending ut again with a double e, so that means ratkaisut changes to ratkaise with a double e, and then we have to add t to it, which means ratkaise plus t becomes ratkaiset. For example, again in perfect tense, when we want to say they have solved, then we would say he ovat ratkaiset. Now we're done with all the rules. We move on to the third chapter, words that are always in plural. So when we have clothes consisting of two mirrored parts, then they usually stand in the nominative plural. For example, leggingsit, leggingsit, meaning leggings, or farkut, meaning jeans, or rintaliivet, meaning bra. However, it doesn't always have to be about clothes. It can be also things consisting of two mirrored parts. For example, sakset, which means scissors, or kuulokkeet, meaning headphones, or silmälasit, meaning glasses. Then the nominative plural is also used for clothes that come with two single mirrored pieces and also for shoes. Here are some examples. Sukat, meaning socks, or käsineet, meaning gloves. These are clothes that come with two single mirrored pieces. And now let's take a look at the shoes. Lenkkarit, meaning tennis shoes or sneakers, and saapaat, meaning boots. So the shoes also come in nominative plural. Also important is that it's also valid for many events. For example, avajaiset, meaning opening ceremony, or polttarit, meaning bachelor party, that party you usually have before you get married, and hallitusvaalit, meaning governmental election. And then we also use the nominative plural for some islands, states. Let's take a look at the examples. Färsaaret, then Yhdysvallat, or Yosemite Putokset. In English, Yosemite Falls, which are in California. Alright, we move on to chapter 4, the example sentences. Let's see how we can use the nominative plural in a sentence. Here's one example. Ikkunat ovat kiinni means the windows are closed. So, ikkunat is the nominative plural of the word ikkuna, which means window. And since we use here the nominative plural, our verb has to stand in the third person plural, which is why we say ovat, which is the third person plural of the verb olla, which means to be. And kiinni means closed. Let's repeat. Ikkunat ovat kiinni. The windows are closed. Next one. Aurinko paistaa, kukat kukkivat ja linnut laulavat means the sun is shining, the flowers are blooming and the birds are singing. So let's go step by step. Aurinko paistaa means the sun is shining. Kukat kukkivat means the flowers are blooming. Here it's interesting because kukat is the nominative plural of kukka, which means flower. And again, because we use the nominative plural here, our verb has to stand in the third person plural, which is why we say kukkivat, which is the third person plural of the verb kukkia, which means to bloom. Then we have ja, which means and. Linnut laulavat means the birds are singing. So linnut is the nominative plural of the word lintu, which means bird, and laulavat is the third person plural present tense of the verb laula, which means to sing. So let's repeat. Aurinko paistaa, kukat kukkivat ja linnut laulavat. The sun is shining, the flowers are blooming and the birds are singing. Next one. Opiskelijat kirjoittavat, kuuntelevat ja puhuvat paljon means the students write, listen and talk a lot. Let's go step by step. Opiskelijat means the students, usually meant at a higher education, for example university students. This is the nominative plural, by the way, of opiskelija, which means student. Then we have three verbs. Kirjoittavat, which is the third person plural, present tense of the verb kirjoittaa, which means to write. Then we have kuuntelevat. Its basic form is kuunnella, which means to listen. Here it's the third person plural. And then we have puhuvat. Its basic form is puhua, which means to speak. And paljon means here a lot. So let's repeat. Opiskelijat kirjoittavat, kuuntelevat ja puhuvat paljon. The students write, listen and talk a lot. Next one. Miehet rupesivat pelaamaan sulkapalloa, meaning the men started playing badminton. So let's go step by step. Miehet means the man. It's the nominative plural of the noun mies, which means man. Then we have rupesivat, which is the third person plural past tense of the verb ruveta, which means to begin or to start. Then we have pelaamaan, which is the illative of the third active infinitive of pelata, which means to play. Then we have sulkapalloa, which is the partitive of sulkapallo, which means badminton. So let's repeat. Miehet rupesivat pelaamaan sulkapalloa. The men started playing badminton. Alright, we move on. Vein kirjeet postiin means I brought the letters to the post. So vein is the first person singular past tense of the verb viedä, which means to bring. Then we have kirjeet, which means the letters, nominative plural, of the noun kirja, which means letter, and postiin means to the post, illative case of posti, meaning post. Let's repeat. Vein kirjeet postiin. I brought the letters to the post. Next example. Ovatko koirat ulkona means are the dogs outside. So let's go step by step. We have the word ovatko, so it's a combination of ovat and ko. Ko here is, by the way, the question marker. So ovatko means are in a question. Then koirat here is our nominative plural of the noun koira, which means dog, and ulkona means outside. Ovatko koirat ulkona? Are the dogs outside? Next one. Käsineet eivät ole laatikossa means the gloves aren't in the drawer. So let's go step by step. Käsineet means gloves. This is a word that is always standing in the nominative plural. Don't forget, this is one of the clothes that always come with two mirrored parts. Eivät ole here is third person plural negative. Negative because we want to say aren't. And laatikossa means in the drawer. It's the inessive case of the noun laatikko, which means drawer. Käsineet eivät ole laatikossa. The gloves aren't in the drawer. All right, now we move on to our last chapter for today. Here we have the exercises plus solutions. Here we have 14 words, and the task is to form the nominative plural out of them. For each word we have 5 seconds. So let's go. Omena means apple. The nominative plural is... That's right, it's omenat. Next one, herne means pea. The nominative plural is... Excellent, it's herneet. Next one, paperi, meaning paper. The nominative plural is... Awesome, yeah, it's paperit. Next one, lehti. Lehti. Do you know how to form it? Very nice, it's lehdet. Here we have the consonant gradation. T changes to D. Next one, hevonen, meaning horse. Its nominative plural is... Very nice, it's hevoset. Next one is an adjective, kaunis. When we want to form it into the nominative plural, it becomes... Very good, it's kauniit with a double I. Next one, fiilis. Fiilis meaning feeling. When we want to form it, it's... Very good, it's fiilikset. Next one, painos, meaning edition or print run. The nominative plural is... That's right, it's painokset. Next one, vastaus, meaning answer. That's right, it's vastaukset. Vastaukset. Next one, rakkaus. Rakkaus, meaning love. The nominative plural is... Excellent, it's rakkaudet. Next one, avain, meaning key. The nominative plural is... Very nice, it's avaimet. Next one, olut, meaning beer. Very good, it's oluet. Next one, vesi, meaning water. That's right, it's vedet. Next one, keidas, meaning oasis. Let's form it. Very nice, it's keitaat. That was actually a difficult one. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to learn more Finnish, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching, have a nice day, and see you next time.